Hello. For this video, I'm going to be working on the pants from Black Snail Patterns, and it is the men's trousers for 1830 to 1860. So I'm kind of planning on doing the more tailored leg because I wear a knee brace, so it's either going to have to fit underneath, which looks kind of weird and bulky, or over, so I'm gonna go with the thinner pants, but I'm not sure about the whole strap under the foot thing. I'll have to think about that. So my fabric came in, and I tend to go for cotton suiting, and again I ended up with the problem of my fabric is very thin. They recommend a cotton twill or wool or tweed, and although this isn't quite see-through, it's about the weight of a fine linen, so not as bad as the shirt, but it's enough that I want to line it fully, which the pattern doesn't call for it to be fully lined, but that's kind of what I need to do. So for my mock-up, I'm going to actually make the lining, and then when I make those alterations, I'll put it onto my outside fabric. And for my lining, I was having trouble finding cotton, and if you're ever finding out that you're having trouble finding cotton, sometimes it is a lot easier to actually buy a 100% cotton sheet instead of going to the fabric store or trying to order online when it's not available because shortages of fabric and using it for masks. So cotton sheet works pretty good. So I'm gonna cut out my pattern and get to work. So here's the pattern, and since this is a sheet and not a bolt, I have a lot more room. But some weird stuff about the pattern. It said to cut here and lengthen by 7 inches. So I'm not sure if I want to do that by 7 inches, because normally when I see these lines, that's where to cut and shorten it for hobbit size people like me. So I'm not used to lengthening it. Okay, I've been kind of sitting here for almost an hour looking at this pattern. Does have a tutorial online trying to figure out how to do this step for the fly, and it's a bit confusing because it says fly facing and buttonhole stay, and that's not what the pattern pieces are called. So thinking the fly is the buttonhole stay and the button catch is the fly facing. So I think this is supposed to go on the right side of the trousers and go like that. And I think I'm missing, I had to cut out this piece in my regular, the fashion fabric, sew it along here, flip it around, and then this button piece finish off this edge, give it a nice edge, and then it goes here with the buttons so that it opens. I think that's how it goes. This is how I'm gonna plan on getting the fly section done on the pants. So piece number 3, which is the button catch, I think is supposed to sew it like this, right sides together, and then flip it so it has that nice edge. So I'm just going to do one layer because I'll have the lining. I'm lining my full piece here. So once that's flipped around, then I do the button. This one calls it, well, it's piece 4, it's the fly. Then the directions, it calls it the buttonhole stay. So I'm gonna sew around the edges of this, flip it inside out, do all the buttonholes, and then that is going to set like this, and then it gets sewn along this line so that you have a piece here and then the separate piece that you put the buttons in, and then the buttons go on the other side of the pants. wasn't sure if this is how I was supposed to finish off the other side of the pants, because I might be missing, it seems like I'm missing a piece. So I had this left over, and it needed a place for the buttons to set so that this would button in here and then be hidden. So I did that because there was some reference to it, but not completely. So either way, that's going to work. Next is the pocket. It says to hand stitch this on to the pocket bag. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn over the seam and sew this by machine. I need to cut this section to match the pants. I'm probably just going to have to sew it and then flip it around, because that's gonna get kind of messy. It's gonna be easier to do it the other way. I sewed this part first, even though it said to sew that one first, because I was looking at it and like, I think I had that one backwards, so I was gonna repin it. So I decided to sew this one first and found out I did have it right. So I saved myself some time by doing this side section, or the front facing first. So the next part is to sew this pocket seam together, and it wants a French seam, which, if I remember correctly, is you sew it the wrong way first, and then you flip it inside out, trim this, and then sew the other way. I skipped ahead and I did the back buckle pieces, because I'm procrastinating a little bit. I got the front and the back pieces sewn together, and it says to go ahead and do the side seams first, but I'm reluctant to do that because the way I fit pants is I get the inseam done first and get everything done except for the side seam and the waistband, because you can put that on inside out, pin the side seams, and get everything tailored. But if you finish off your side seams like it says in the directions, I don't want to have to take all that out. So I'm probably actually think this piece needs to go here first and get that gusset in there in the back, and then I'm going to sew my back and front piece together and get the inseam finished. Because this is looking a little weird, and until that's together, I don't know how that's going to lay until it's connected. After having a long issue of trying to get this to fit in just the side seams, because I realized for the mock-up I did not put the darts in, which was an issue. I had debated about cutting out these front sections and redoing them all, but then I found out all I had to do was fix this part, because I had my lining caught in, basically I'd sewn this into the lining, and it was a lot easier to take it apart and just sew it as one piece of fabric versus the fabric and the liner, and it kind of worked, although still having an issue here, so I just went on my machine, sewed this line, and then sewed down it, seemed to fix it, and I'm not sure I want to pick that out yet. So I will decide that later. So I think I just have the waistband. So there's a lining piece in here for here, and then I have to sew the lining, but I didn't cut an interfacing, so I'm going to need to do that first so I get a nice top seam on my waistband, and then I have buttons and hemming to do, and then that's it. So I got it done all except for the hem. I'm not really happy on how this part sits, and I'm just probably gonna have to make a second pair to try to get that right, because the directions were kind of vague, and it's okay. And I'm not really happy with the fit, so even though I went up a size so I could take down, I did not have enough to really take things in. And I still don't, the buckle thing hasn't come in yet, so I don't have the buckle for the back. So again, I decided on some wood buttons, and this part came out great. It's just that one bottom edge, it sits a little weird in the waistband, but otherwise that was done. So it's not really a bad pattern, it just isn't quite, they didn't explain enough, so I'm gonna have to do some more research on how to put this type of front closure in for pants.